For sporting experience. It's not like anything else. Because you never know if you're going to be a part of something incredibly historic,
Right.
which you don't get that feel really with team sports because, like this team could be back next year, you might have another game. Like very rarely are you in a situation where it's like this is very significant and it may never happen again.
Well, I also there's just it's a different kind of caliber of fan, right? Like I've been to championship UFC fights and those are UFC fight fans. And there are some stars. Whereas when it's a world championship boxing match, it is the creme, especially in Vegas.
In heavyweight.
It's the creme de la creme. And I think this one is especially large because of the men themselves and the size and the weight class. It's like, look, there was Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns and Duran. There's always been fighters that are, obviously now you have Mayweather and Pacquiao, and we've always had fighters in lower weight class or lesser weight classes that have been outstanding and great watches, right? Pernell Whitaker is like my favorite as a kid, Sweet Pea Whitaker. And the speed by which he hit guys was amazing, amazing. But there's something about a heavyweight title fight. It's like sometimes you'll turn on, there'll be a boxing match, and then you see them, and the third rope is like the same height as the fighters, right? They look like whether children just look small. Whereas these are giants of men. These are guys who any punch hits any of us, and we wake up and we're like, what month is it? What is my name? I have no idea. And it brings me back to when I was a kid and you'd beg and beg and beg to get your dad to buy the Tyson fight. And then it was like over in a minute or over in the first round. And then he'd go I'm never buying that Tyson fight again. I'm like, it was awesome. Did you see it was awesome? It was awesome. These two guys have fought before. It went the distance before. So you feel like you're going to get your money's worth. Heck, even, there were knockdowns in the last fight. And Wilder is just an unbelievable puncher. But I think that they're not just heavyweights in weight class. These are gigantic men, 6'9" and 6'7". I think Fury is more of a legitimate, long-time, lifelong boxer, whereas Wilder's a great athlete who's learned to be a fighter and a puncher. I feel like this, though, and they're both undefeated, but though they may not have the true cachet of a Money Mayweather or of a Manny Pacquiao, who have their own kind of interesting stories, and Money Mayweather never having lost, and all the weight classes and championships that Pacquiao has earned, and maybe Fury's past whatever prime that he had. He's talking about retiring already. Boxers talk about retiring all the time. I don't know. There is something about a heavyweight. There's something about a championship fight, as you pointed out. Something about fight night. Something about Vegas, and then you add in two undefeated heavyweights who have squared off before, and it wasn't like they were hugging each other last time, right? There's nothing. That was the bad part of the heavyweight division, is when they punch each other, they get tired, they hug each other. These guys are going at it, and they will go at it Saturday night. So I'm especially fired up. You're going to have a great treat, as will Colin, who I know is going there as well. Shawn Porter joins us. He's a two-time welterweight world champion. 130, 17 career knockouts. And Shawn, thanks so much for joining us. You're live in Las Vegas. How much different is the feel from your perspective that it's not just we have a championship fight, not just that they're both undefeated and they faced each other, but that it is the heavyweight division?
You don't have the excitement because you're not here in Vegas. It's unbelievable. This is amazing for boxing. This is amazing for America right now to have these two heavyweight champions getting in the ring. I'll tell you, Deontay Wilder, unbelievable puncher, and Tyson Fury, unbelievable boxer. Tyson Fury's talking about, I'm going to take the fight to Deontay this time around, and I'm not leaving it in the judge's hands. He's talking about, like you said before, we had 12 exciting rounds. He's talking about coming out from the beginning of the bell and letting it be known that I'm here to knock out Deontay Wilder and do something that no one thinks that I can do. And I believe Tyson Fury. He says he wants to shock the world.
Did he win the first fight, in your opinion?
No. I scored the fight a draw. Going into the last round, I thought that Tyson Fury was ahead on the scorecards. After Deontay Wilder dropped him in the 12th, I did the math. I said, okay, 2 knockdowns and 2 early rounds throughout the fight. That's a draw. And it turned out to be a draw, which I personally think was the best thing that could have ever happened, not just for Deontay, but for the sport of boxing, because we got these guys getting back in the ring. And I guarantee you, anybody that goes back and watches that fight right now, you'll be off of your seats watching it, and you're going to get even more in this rematch.
They're not having the face-off today. No one's ever heard of this. Like, is this just this?
So what?
Are we just soft in 2020 that we think something bad's going to happen?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. They did a press conference on Wednesday. The face-off was done on Wednesday. If you weren't there and didn't see that face-off on Wednesday, oh well. What they did on Wednesday, they don't have to do it again. So they'll weigh in tomorrow. Or they'll weigh in a few hours. Everything will be great, and then we'll have the big show off on tomorrow night.
There's talk of Fury changing his style. Others have said, like, this, he's going to change. How will he change his style?
He says he wants to be a puncher. He says he wants to be aggressive. He says he's going to go right at Deontay Wilder. I believe him. I think that Tyson Fury, we're all a little crazy, as Andre Ward puts it. To do this sport, you got to be a little crazy. Tyson Fury's a lot of crazy.
Yeah.
He will throw everything out of the window and do whatever he has to do or feels he has to do in order to be successful. He says that I left it up to the judges last time. I failed. A draw is a failure. I'm not a failure. I'm going to knock out Deontay Wilder. I believe that he 100% is going to change the way that he boxes, definitely in the first couple of rounds, and see where it gets him. And if it doesn't get the result that he wants, he'll go back to doing what he does, which we've seen him do time and time again, which is be an unbelievable boxer with unbelievable reflexes and timing. But I think that he's going to change up his boxing style. I think he's going to take the fight to Deontay Wilder. I think that makes the fight even more exciting.
It does make it more exciting, but is that smart? Like, you have the greatest puncher in the heavyweight division, and you're going to take the fight to him. That stands to reason that there'll be more shots for Deontay Wilder to take. That does feel like a risky proposition.
Well, for me, also being an aggressive fighter, I do understand what being aggressive can lead to. I do understand what can happen when you're aggressive and someone can't handle that. I do think that no one's been able to push Deontay Wilder back. No one's been able to get on the inside of Deontay Wilder, and I really don't know how he's going to react to that. So I do think that it's crazy, but I am curious to see. I know it can work, but I'm curious to see if he will make it work. And I think that's the most intriguing part about this fight so far.
Sean, Wilder's interesting. He hasn't fought for that long. Just over a decade he's been a fighter. So there is the thought that he's going to continue to get better at a different curve than others. On the other hand, you mentioned Fury. Like, his dad was a bare knuckles brawler. Like, this is part of his blood, part of his DNA, and so he's seen a lot of different action. Could Wilder really improve from the first fight to the second fight, or do you, at this point, you are who you are?
The biggest improvement we're looking at from Deontay Wilder in this fight is this. He said the first fight, I was too. I had a lot of pressure on myself, and I was too anxious. I was in there going in every round for the knockout. I wasn't being calm. I wasn't being poised, and I wasn't sticking to my game plan and being patient. This time around, same game plan, but added patience, added composure, added vision to seeing what I want to hit and hitting that target, which is what lacked for him in the first fight. So, yes, I do think this is going to be the Wilder that we've seen in the past in terms of him just being a straight up and down boxer who will hit you with the jab and finish you with the right hand. But I think we'll see the best Deontay Wilder that we've ever seen in this fight coming up.
I took it from your explanation that you like Fury in the fight, though?
I like them both in the fight. Honestly, it's so
You
hard. for me
can't
to
pick a draw, can you? Like I'm picking a draw. That would be.
I'm not picking a draw. I think someone's getting knocked out tomorrow night. But this is what my heart wants. My heart wants 12 more rounds of unbelievable action with one guy getting their hand raised. I do think that this is going to be an amazing night.
Sean Porter, of course, you can. It's on pay-per-view on the Fox Sports app, and Sean is there already. We got Speak for Yourself upcoming from Vegas. Sean, thanks so much for your enlightening us with so many different parts of the sweet science. Appreciate you joining us.
You got it, my man. Get excited.
I am excited. Sean Porter joining us. See, Joy? I mean, he's like, the energy's already there.
He wants you to turn up a little bit.
I am, but I can't. Like, we're in a studio with like 15 of us here, right? So I don't wanna,
we're
let's
not
go crazy.
We're not in Vegas in the sports book
What is
right now.
what is your game of choice? Your gambling game of choice?
Well, I like blackjack,
Yes.
but I'm not very good at it. And blackjack is not one of those games where, like, if you're not good at blackjack, other people at the table don't appreciate teaching you how to play. So I like to play craps, because usually if you're a girl,
See, I think it's
and you
the
go up to
opposite.
the craps table,
Yes.
and you can just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then people give you money to play with,
Yes.
and then you lose it, and then they're like, oh, I have to go, I lost my money, and then they give you more
got
money.
the hair. You got
Yeah.
the hair thing like totally
and then they
down.
let you keep it. It's great. Doesn't work for everybody, guys, obviously. So, and people don't mind. Craps is like social, so people don't mind explaining to you what's going on, because there's just like lines everywhere and this and that. I don't know what's going on.
Vegas flight. Are you flying? Or you're driving?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Oh, drive to Vegas, never.
Huh? No, it's
Never.
coming back. Well, I don't say never. I mean, because look, it takes whatever time it takes to get to the airport to check in. You get a convertible. You
It's
drive
not
out to the
driving
desert.
to Vegas.
It's driving
It's
back.
coming back from
No, the
Vegas.
drive back is that is a drive of shame, right? That
It's
is a
awful. I will not do that.
But I've always said this: fight weekend in Vegas, the pros aren't flying the plane. Oftentimes, they're riding in the plane. There's like, wow, there's a lot of good-looking people on this plane. Like, yes, they're there for a reason. Joy Taylor, con woman.
It's not a con.
Don't just hand her money.
I don't know what I'm doing.
You don't know what
I don't know what
I'll
I'm
bet
doing.
she totally knows what she's doing. She's like, come on, fun and feeling. Coming up next, the Brooklyn Nets might be the most interesting team in the NBA for all the wrong reasons. We'll point them out next in The Herd.